Hey guys, Chapter 4 The Open Door, Flight into Darkness. That looks like a goblin. Raceland sat down on the hearth, rubbing his hands in the warmth of the small fire. His golden eyes seemed brighter than the flames as he stared intently at the blue crystal staff resting across the woman's lap. "What do you think?" asked Tanis. "If she's a Claritin, she's a good one," Raceland commented thoughtfully. "What? You dare to question chieftain daughter as a Claritin?" The tall barbarian stepped toward Raceland, his dark brows contracting in a vicious scowl. Caraman made a low, rumbling noise in his throat and moved from the window to stand behind his brother. "Riverwind!" The woman laid her hands on the man's arm, and he drew near her chair. "Please, he meant no harm. It's all right. They do not trust us. They do not know us." "And we do not know them," the man growled. "If I might examine it," Raceland said. Goldmoon nodded and held out the staff. The mage stretched out his long, bony arm, his thin hands grasping for it eagerly. As Raceland touched the staff, however, there was a bright flash of blue light and a crackling sound. The mage jerked his hand back, crying out in pain and shock. Caraman jumped forward, but his brother stopped him. "No, Caraman," Raceland whispered hoarsely, wringing his injured hand. "The lady had nothing to do with that." The woman, indeed, was staring at the staff in amazement. "What is it, then?" Tanis asked in exasperation. "A staff that heals and injures at the same time?" "It merely knows its own." Raceland licked his lips, his eyes glittering. "Watch. Caraman, take the staff." "Not me." The warrior drew back as if from a snake. "Take the staff," Raceland demanded. Reluctantly, Caraman stretched out his trembling hand. His arm twitched as his finger came closer and closer. Closing his eyes and gritting his teeth in anticipation of pain, he touched the staff. Nothing happened. Caraman opened his eyes wide, startled. He gripped the staff, lifting it in his huge hand, and grinned. "See there?" Raceland gestured at like an illusionist showing off a trick for the crowd. "Only those of simple goodness, pure of heart," his sarcasm was biting, "may touch the staff. It is truly a sacred staff of healing, blessed by some god. It's not magic. No magic objects I have ever seen or heard about have healing powers." "Hush!" ordered Tesloff, who had taken Caraman's place by the window. The Theocrat's guards," he warned softly. No one spoke. Now they could all hear goblin footsteps flapping on the bridge walks that ran among the branches of the Valenwood trees. They're conducting a house to house search," Tanis whispered incredulously, listening to fists bang on neighboring doors. The seekers demand right of entry," croaked a voice. There was a pause, then the same voice said, "Go on home. We kick in the door?" "Nah," said another voice. "We better report it to the Theocrat. Let him kick down door. If it unlocked, that'd be different. We're allowed to enter." Tanis looked at the door opposite him. He felt the hair on the back of his neck rise. He could have sworn they had shut and bolted the door. Now it stood slightly open. "The door!" he whispered. "Caraman!" But the warrior had already moved to stand behind the door, his back to the wall, his giant hands flexing. The footsteps flapped to stop outside. "The Seekers demand right of entry." The goblin began to bang on the door, then stopped in surprise as it swung open. "This place empty," one said. "Let's move in. Let's move on." "You got no imagination, Grum," said the other. "Here's our chance to pick up a few pieces of silver." A goblin head appeared around the door, its eyes focused on Raceland. Sitting calmly, his staff on his shoulder, the goblin grunted in alarm and began to laugh. "Ho, ho! Look what we found here! A staff!" The goblin's eyes gleamed. It took a step towards Raceland, its partner crowding closely behind. "Hand me staff!" "Certainly," the mage whispered. He held his own staff forth. "Shirak," he said. The crystal ball flared to light. The goblins shrieked and shut their eyes, fumbling for the swords. At that moment, Caramon jumped from behind the door, grabbed the goblins around their necks, and swept their heads together with a sickening thud. The goblin bodies crumpled into a stinking heap. Dead? Asked Tanis as Caramon bent over them, examining them by the light of Raceland's staff. I'm afraid so, the man said softly. I hit them too hard. Well, that's torn it, Tanis said grimly. We've murdered 2 more of the theocrat's guards. He'll have the town up in arms. Now we can't just lie low for a few days. We've got to get out of here. And you two, he turned towards the barbarians, had better come with us. Wherever we're going, muttered Flint irritably. Where were you headed? Tanis asked Riverwind. We were traveling to Haven, the barbarian said reluctantly. There are wise men there, Goldmoon said. We hope they could help us learn about this staff. You see, the song I sang, it was true. The staff saved our lives. You'll have to tell us later, Tanis interrupted. When these guards don't report back, every goblin in Solus will be swarming up these trays. Raceland, put out that light. The mage spoke another word, Dumak. The crystal glimmered, then the light died. What do we do with the bodies? Caramon asked, nudging a dead goblin with his boot. And what about Tika? Won't she get into trouble? Leave the bodies, Tanis. Tanis's mind was working quickly. And hack up the door. Sturm, knock over a few of the tables. We'll make it look as if we broke in here and got into a fight with these fellows. That way, Tika shouldn't be in too much trouble. She's a smart girl. She'll manage. We'll need food, Tasselhoff stated. He ran into the kitchen and began rummaging through the shelves, stuffing loaves of bread and anything else that looked edible into his pouches. He tossed Flint a full skin of wine. Sturm overturned a few chairs. Caramon arranged the bodies to make it look like as if they had died in a ferocious battle. The plainsmen stood in front of the dying fire, looking at Tanis uncertainly. Well, said Sturm. Now what? Where are we going? Tanis hesitated, running over the Tanis hesitated, running over the options in his mind. The plainsmen had come from the east, and if the stories were true and the tribe had been trying to kill them, they wouldn't want to go back that way. The group could travel south into the Elven Kingdom, but Tanis felt a strange reluctance to go back to his homeland. He knew, too, that the elves would not be pleased to see these strangers entering into their hidden city. We'll travel north, he said finally. We'll escort these two until we come to the crossroads. Then we can decide what to do from there. They can go southwest to Haven if they wish. I plan to travel further north and see if the rumors about the army's gathering are true. And perhaps run into Kitiara, Raceland whispered slyly. Tanis flushed. Is the plan all right? He asked, looking around. Though not the eldest amongst us, Tanis, you are the wisest, Sturm said. We follow you, as always. Sturm nodded. Caramon nodded. Raceland was already heading for the door. Flint shouldered the wide skin, grumbling. Tanis felt a gentle hand touch on his arm. He turned and looked down to the clear blue eyes of the beautiful barbarian. We are grateful, Goldmoon said slowly, as if unused to expressing appreciation. You risk your lives for us, and we are strangers. Tanis smiled and clasped her. I am Tanis. The brothers are Caramon and Raceland. The knight is Sturm Brightblade. Flint Fireforge carries the wine, and Tasselhoff Burfoot is our clever locksmith. You are Goldmoon, and he is Riverwind. There. We are strangers no longer. Goldmoon smiled wearily. She patted Tanis's arm, then stared out the door, leaning on the staff that once again seemed plain and nondescript. Tanis watched her, then glanced up to see Riverwind staring at him, the barbarian's dark face, an impenetrable mask. Well, he said, amending silently, some of us are no longer strangers. Soon everyone had gone, Tanis leading the way. Tanis stood alone for a moment in the wrecked living room, staring at the bodies of the goblins. This was supposed to have been a peaceful homecoming after bitter years of solitary travel. He thought of his comfortable house. He thought of all the things that he had planned to do, things he planned to do together with Kitiara. He thought of long winter nights with storytelling around the fire in the inn, then returning home laughing together beneath the fur blankets sleeping through the snow-covered mornings. Tanis kicked the smoldering coals, scattering them. Kitiara had not come back. Goblins had invaded his quiet town. He was fleeing into the night to escape a bunch of religious fanatics. With every likelihood, he could never return. Elves do not notice the passage of time. They live for hundreds of years. For them, the seasons pass like brief rain showers. But Tanis was half human. He sensed change coming, felt the disquieting restlessness men feel before the thunderstorm. He sighed and shook his head. Then he went out to the shattered door, leaving it swinging crazily on the hinge. End of chapter 4.